Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. Alright, first question. Are you still performing 5 to 6 hours of LISS cardio a day with your current style of strength building? If so, what effect is it having, positive or negative to recovery? No, brother, I only did even the 5 hours a couple of times back during that 30-pound cut I did last year. And I was using all of that to cut. No. When I went over to the Bulgarian style training, I started while still doing an hour of LISS a day, and it really started to become problematic. And when I cut all the LISS back out, other than walking my dog twice a day, doing my grocery shopping, stuff like that, my strength started coming up a lot quicker. Like, I found it really became a problem to try to do significant volumes of LISS on this style of training. But the upside to that, I feel like I built my work capacity up to such a degree that squatting every day just isn't really a problem for me. I think it made it easier to ease into this style of training. So I don't feel that it had a negative effect ahead of time, and in fact, it allowed me to lose a fair amount of body fat. People need to remember that. Looking at me now, I'm still a hell of a lot leaner than before I started that cut. And I'm not quite as lean as I was at the very end, but I'm definitely much leaner than at the start of that cut. So, it is what it is. So it served its purpose at the time. And now everything is strength-based, and I'm doing minimal amounts of strength-based conditioning, and eventually I will ease that up more, increase it if I feel that I have the need to do so, to increase calories, things like that later. So for now, though, it's fine. I will eventually do more and more GPP work down the road once I have my strength base sufficient again, because I think the GPP can help with conditioning, fat burning, and I think it can help with overall hypertrophy by adding more volume. All right, next question. Jason, I climb stadium stairs once a week for HIIT. Do you see any benefits or drawback as far as leg development / recovery with this type of training? Well, brother, like with anything else, you've got to factor in any of your conditioning work with your overall recovery with your strength training. All conditioning work can have a negative effect on your recovery. It's just a question of how much total volume and everything are you doing. Now, as far as climbing the stadium stairs, no, I think that's fine. But what you need to be aware of as far as conditioning goes, the going up the stairs is going to be fine. It's coming back down because there's a larger eccentric component. And that's the main thing you need to really look at with your conditioning work when you're combining it with any sort of serious strength training, is you need to minimize the eccentric loading. That's why things like sled drags work so well, because there's zero eccentric component. Climbing stadium stairs relatively quickly, or climbing stadium stairs with a loaded backpack, right? Weighted going up. That can be a good form of conditioning. Be aware, though, that the going back down, you need to be very, very cautious of overall. So you could almost do the stadium stairs and just do the climbing for the HIIT, and then, I don't know, take an elevator or something down if you have access to one. I don't know. But no, I mean, it has its place. It'll work fine. Just be aware of eccentric loading when you're doing any of your conditioning as far as it impacting your recovery and your strength training. All right, next question. Hey Jason, how long after you stop lifting weights do you start to lose muscle mass? My dad hasn't lifted weights in years, late 80s, early 90s, but is still big and has some of the biggest forearms I've seen. He's 55 years old. He built a base with heavy compounds like squat, around 400, bench, 300, etc. Also, just wanted to say thanks for all the great content. I've been lifting for years and gotten the biggest and strongest I've ever been following you, using basic heavy compounds and none of this fluff and puff. I went from 300 touch and go bench to 310 pause, 400 dev to 460 beltless, and 330 squat to 350. Thanks again. All right, as far as that goes, you start losing muscle within 2 weeks. But what you need to remember is exactly what you see in your dad. Anyone who undertakes a serious strength training program for a significant enough period of time that it starts to make changes in their set points in their body, they are a different organism thereafter. In other words, you will never 100% detrain and lose everything, right? You're always going to be different. If you get your bench up to 300, your squat up to 400, your deadlift up to 500, it will permanently change you, and it will cause changes even if you quit lifting, some of which will stay indefinitely. And I mean, I can tell you right now that some of it I noticed, like when I was sick, I spent pretty much 10 months in bed, several years away from training, got really fat and everything. Even one of my best bros, my best friend, noted that my back and everything stayed massive, right? My back stayed massive. in spite of not lifting. And I think I threw a picture up a long time ago of me like still walking with a cane after only like 30 days of doing any training again. And I mean, it's decently sized. I mean, I wasn't massive, but decently sized. And the same thing, like as soon as I started training again, my bench and squat took forever to get back up. But I was deadlifting 500 pounds again in like 8 months after learning to walk again. After 3 or 4 years of no training, learning to walk again, took me like 8 months to get to a 500 deadlift. So again, there's something to be said for some permanent changes that will happen, and it may not be through your entire body, but yeah, any serious strength training endeavor will make some pretty much lifelong permanent changes, even though you won't necessarily keep everything. It's a permanent positive response in certain ways for different people. All right, next question. Hey coach, do you think hitting each body part 2 times per week using a 4-day upper lower split would be optimal for stimulating both muscle and strength gains? What do you think of an upper lower split, and what would you do to maximize your time in the gym if you only train 4 days a week? Thanks. Optimal is a strong word to use here. Have I personally used upper lower? Yeah, absolutely. 4 day a week. Is that a very, very popular method for athletes and drug-free lifters? Yes, it is. Does it work? Yes. We could argue about optimal. I could almost argue that for strength, you could be doing a 4 day a week Bulgarian light. But as far as this goes, what was I doing before I went into Bulgarian training, right? I did my lift mastery with high volume triples, then I switched over to concurrent training. I ran an upper lower 4 day a week concurrent style training, but it was movement pattern based, not true upper lower, meaning squats and deadlifts were lower, but upper body still had standing presses and all of that, right? Standing presses, floor press, chin ups, rows, things like that. Cleans. But the thing is, things like cleans I would do on both types of days. I didn't care. The thing is, this is fine. It works. It's time proven, especially works well for concurrent style periodization. However, what I would recommend, don't think of it as body parts. Stop this whole body part thought nonsense. You need to be thinking in terms of movement patterns, because if you don't start thinking in terms of movement patterns, you might see a lift like a power clean, an amazing exercise, or a power snatch and go, oh God, where do I put it on my upper day or my lower day? The moment you do that, you're completely screwed. Your split just screwed you. So keep that as a loose recommendation. Stop with this 2 times a week, because tons of muscles in your body are going to get worked 4 days a week if you're picking the most effective exercises, right? It's just a way to organize it. It's just a way to organize it. But no, it works, and nothing wrong with it. It works just fine. All right, next question. Hi, Jason. Could you talk about what you're doing for grip training? I wonder if thumb strength needs to be trained directly, aka pinch grip. Thanks. Yeah, absolutely does. I have pinch blocks. Outside of me just messing with some hook grip and my deadlifting and things, I have pinch blocks. That's what I use. Now, I haven't done any in over a week because I started doing the hex bar deadlift, so I backed off on my grip work. I will start easing it back in. But I personally have a pair of 2-inch and a pair of 3-inch grip blocks that I can hang plates off of with a, you know, a loop and everything, so that I can work on my grip using an actual pinch grip. I think pinch gripping is great. I think it's a great way to train your grip in addition to all your deadlifting, rowing, all that stuff, in addition to throwing away any straps that you own, or better yet, never wasting the $10 on a pair. All right, that's what you need for grip training. But yeah, no, pinch grip work is fantastic for grip work. Using slightly larger bars can be fantastic for grip work, like my trap bar. It's a perfect example. Those are larger diameter handles. So yeah, all of that's fine. But yeah, pinch grip work, do it if you think that your thumbs are a weakness. All right, next question and last question of the week. Hey Jason, can I still incorporate power cleans and snatches into my training if I have to lower them? I can't drop the weight. No problem. If your gym doesn't let you drop the weight, just realize you're not going to max on these lifts. You need to stay within weights that you're never going to miss, and you need to avoid failure. In other words, if you know that 100 pounds is your 5-rep max, you should probably stop at 3 reps. So things like that will help you out. You can do these just fine if you catch them at your waist. Just be aware that you're going to struggle to do things like maxes in training to failure, and that's okay. You can do them for just overall explosiveness. You don't have to go super heavy. These are good exercises for just helping with your overall explosiveness development through your body, and they don't always require you to train with maximum weights if you're not going to do them in a competitive environment, and that will eliminate most of your problem there. So yeah, you can do that. Just drop them and catch them at the waist. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.